What if 99% of everything ever written in the ancient world was just gone? Not just stories, but the secrets of science, philosophy, and entire empires vanished. We like to think of history as a straight line, a story passed down from one generation to the next, but the truth is, it's more like a shattered mirror. Huge libraries, holding hundreds of thousands of scrolls, have disappeared, leaving massive holes in our understanding of the past. The wisdom of entire civilizations just turned to dust. So, we're going on a journey back to a time when libraries weren't just buildings. They were the beating intellectual hearts of civilization. From the sun-drenched halls of Alexandria to a Roman villa buried by a volcano, this is a rescue mission for a legacy that was stolen from us. Because in the ashes of these forgotten libraries, a few embers are still glowing. And today, we're finally learning how to read them. This is the story of the greatest intellectual disaster in human history and the modern-day quest to reverse it. In the heart of the ancient world, on the coast of Egypt, stood a beacon of human genius, the city of Alexandria. Founded by Alexander the Great, it was home to a place that has haunted the dreams of scholars for centuries, the Great Library of Alexandria. This wasn't just a place to store books. It was the world's first real university, a research center called the Museion, or Shrine of the Muses. It was, without a doubt, the intellectual crown jewel of antiquity. Imagine walking its halls in the 3rd century BC. You'd be surrounded by shelves sagging under the weight of an estimated 500,000 papyrus scrolls. This was the sum of all human knowledge gathered with an almost obsessive passion by the kings who ruled Egypt. Their policy was aggressive. Agents were sent across the world to buy every scroll they could find on any subject by any author. If a ship docked in Alexandria's port, it was searched. Any books found on board were taken, the originals were kept for the library, and a fresh copy was handed back to the surprised owner. Within these walls, the greatest minds of the age came to study. It was here that Euclid laid out the rules of geometry we still learn in school today. The brilliant inventor Archimedes is said to have studied here, and a head librarian named Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the entire planet with stunning accuracy, using nothing but shadows, a well, and his own mind. The library held the works of Homer, the plays of Sophocles, and revolutionary texts on medicine, astronomy, and history. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of thought. But this golden age wasn't meant to last. The story of the library's end is almost as famous as its life, but it's tangled in myths. For centuries, the blame has fallen on one man, Julius Caesar. In 48 BC, while he was under siege in the city, his soldiers set fire to enemy ships in the harbor. According to some ancient writers, the fire spread to the docks and destroyed warehouses where books were being stored. The Roman historian Livy claimed 40,000 scrolls went up in smoke. That single, dramatic fire became the symbol for the library's destruction. A world of learning suddenly plunged into darkness. But the real story is probably more complicated and, in some ways, even more tragic. Many historians now believe the library didn't die in one fiery catastrophe, but from a long, slow illness. The decline started long before Caesar, with political purges that forced scholars to flee the city. Funding dried up. The institution just withered away. Fires and riots in the centuries that followed likely destroyed what was left. There wasn't one big explosion. It was a slow-motion collapse that saw the intellectual heart of the world simply fade away. The loss is staggering. Some scholars estimate that less than 10% of all ancient Greek literature has survived. For Latin literature, that number might be as low as 1%. We have no idea what scientific discoveries, what philosophical ideas, what epic poems were lost for good. The end of the Library of Alexandria wasn't just the loss of a building, it was the erasure of our own memory. While Alexandria is the most famous lost library, it wasn't the only one. In fact, its whole purpose was inspired by an earlier idea. Back in 4th century BC Athens, the philosopher Aristotle, Plato's student and tutor to Alexander the Great, did something revolutionary. He started collecting books. He built the first great private library in Europe at his school, the Lyceum. It was huge, reflecting his bottomless curiosity, and it even included the original manuscripts of his own 400 books. But after he died, his precious collection went on a dangerous journey. Fearing it would be seized by rival kings, Aristotle's followers hid the scrolls in a damp cellar. For over a century, they were left to rot, damaged by moisture and insects. Eventually, parts of this foundational library were sold off, and many scholars think they ended up forming a core piece of the collection at Alexandria. It's a harsh reminder that even before the Great Fires, knowledge was fragile, always one step away from being lost. Centuries later, as Alexandria's flame began to flicker out, another great library rose to take its place. In the new capital of the Roman Empire, Constantinople, a massive effort began in the 4th century AD to save the wisdom of the past. The Imperial Library of Constantinople had a critical mission: transfer the knowledge from decaying papyrus scrolls onto a new, tougher material, parchment. At its peak, it was said to hold over 100,000 volumes, acting as a vital bridge between the ancient world and the Middle Ages. This library wasn't just a vault. Scribes were constantly at work, painstakingly copying the great works of Greek and Roman thought. But just like its predecessor, the Imperial Library wasn't safe from disaster. It was hit by several fires over its 1,000-year history. One fire in 473 AD reportedly destroyed a shocking 120,000 volumes. But the final, fatal blow came in 1204, when Knights of the Fourth Crusade sacked the city. What they didn't burn, they sold off or scattered. The library that had served as the last guardian of classical knowledge was essentially gone. The Ottoman conquest of the city in 1453 sealed its fate for good. The destruction of these great libraries shows a painful pattern. With every fire, every war, another piece of our shared history vanished. But while fire was often the villain of this story, a different kind of catastrophe would, in a bizarre twist, lead to the most miraculous preservation of all. While fire destroyed so much, it was fire and ash that miraculously saved one ancient library. Our story now takes us to the Bay of Naples, under the shadow of the sleeping giant, Mount Vesuvius. In the 1st century AD, the Roman city of Herculaneum was a ritzy seaside town filled with luxurious villas. One of the grandest is now called the Villa of the Papyri. It might have belonged to Julius Caesar's own father-in-law, and inside, it held a private library. In 79 AD, Vesuvius erupted with terrifying force, burying Herculaneum and its more famous neighbor, Pompeii, under a thick blanket of volcanic ash and rock. The superheated wave that blasted through the city instantly carbonized everything organic. Wood, food, and people were turned into charcoal. And so were the scrolls in the villa's library. For almost 1,700 years, that library lay buried and forgotten. Then, in the 1750s, workers digging a well accidentally hit the villa. As they tunneled through the hardened volcanic rock, they found what looked like burnt logs or chunks of coal. It took them a while to realize what they'd actually found: over 1,800 papyrus scrolls, flash-cooked by the volcano. It was the only intact library to survive from the entire classical world. It was a discovery that should have changed everything. But there was one agonizing problem. The scrolls were so fragile that any attempt to unroll them made them crumble into dust. Early attempts were a disaster. Scholars tried everything, mercury, vegetable gas, to try and soften them, but the result was almost always the same. The priceless texts were destroyed in the very act of trying to read them. All of that knowledge was locked away, so close you could touch it, but completely out of reach. For more than 2 centuries, the Herculaneum scrolls remained silent, their secrets trapped inside their charred little tombs. We had found a library, but we couldn't read it. For generations, those charred scrolls were one of archaeology's biggest frustrations. The only surviving library from antiquity was right there, but its words were locked away. That all started to change in the 21st century, thanks to the vision of one man, Dr. Brent Seals, a computer scientist at the University of Kentucky. He asked a simple but brilliant question. If we can use technology to see inside a human body without cutting it open, why can't we use it to see inside a scroll? That question launched a quest that would last 2 decades. To read the unreadable. The challenge was huge. The ink used on the scrolls was made of charcoal and water. To an X-ray, that ink has almost the same density as the carbonized papyrus it's written on, making it practically invisible. It was like trying to read pencil on black paper in a pitch-black room. The first step was a process Dr. Seals called virtual unwrapping. Using powerful CT scanners, his team created incredibly detailed 3D digital models of the rolled-up scrolls. This let them map every single fiber and overlapping layer without ever having to touch the real thing. But seeing the layers wasn't enough. They still couldn't see the ink. The breakthrough required something even more powerful. The team took the scrolls to particle accelerators, like the Diamond Light Source in the UK, which produced rays 10 billion times brighter than the sun. This intense light let them spot tiny differences in the papyrus, but the ink was still a ghost. The final piece of the puzzle wouldn't come from physics. It would come from artificial intelligence. In March 2023, Dr. Seals, with tech entrepreneurs Nat Friedman and Daniel Gross, launched the Vesuvius Challenge. They released the 3D scans of the scrolls to the public and offered a $1 million prize to anyone who could build an AI model to read the hidden text. The challenge lit a fire under a global community of coders and students. They trained machine learning algorithms on tiny open fragments of the scrolls where the ink was still visible, teaching the AI to recognize the unique texture the ancient ink left on the papyrus fibers. The progress was incredible. In late 2023, a 21-year-old American computer science student named Luke Ferrator did what no one had been able to do for 2,000 years. His AI model spotted the ghostly shapes of letters inside one of the unopened scrolls. The very first word to appear out of the darkness was porphyres, the ancient Greek word for purple. History had been made. This incredible breakthrough is just the beginning of rewriting our understanding of the ancient world. But which of these lost libraries do you wish we could get back? The collected knowledge of Alexandria, the personal writings of Aristotle, or the forgotten histories of Constantinople? Let us know in the comments. Ferrator's discovery opened the floodgates. He teamed up with Youssef Nader, an Egyptian PhD student in Germany, and Julian Schilliger, a Swiss robotics student. By combining their work, they pushed their AI models deeper into the scroll. In February 2024, the Vesuvius Challenge announced that the team had won the $700,000 grand prize. They had successfully read over 2,000 characters, multiple columns of continuous text from a scroll that had been sealed shut since the year 79 AD. For the first time, we could read the thoughts of someone from the ancient world, speaking to us directly across 2 millennia. The text they uncovered is a philosophical work, likely by an Epicurean philosopher named Philodemus, who wrote many of the books in the villa's library. In it, the author discusses the nature of pleasure and asks if things that are scarce are actually more enjoyable than things that are abundant. As in the case of food, one passage reads, "We do not right away believe things that are scarce to be absolutely more pleasant than those which are abundant." This might not be a lost play by Sophocles or a secret history of the Roman Empire, but its importance is off the charts. We are reading a never-before-seen text from antiquity. We have a direct window into the philosophical debates that were happening right before one of history's most famous disasters. The team had only read about 5% of just one scroll. There are hundreds more waiting. And archaeologists believe the main library of the villa, which could contain thousands more Latin and Greek texts, hasn't even been excavated yet. The potential is breathtaking. We might still find lost works by Aristotle, Sappho, or even Homer. As one historian said, this could transform our knowledge of the ancient world on a scale not seen since the Renaissance. Our story started with the smoke of Alexandria, a symbol of everything we've lost. It took us through the quiet decay of other great collections, a sad reminder of how fragile knowledge really is. For centuries, the story of forgotten libraries was about a past that was slipping further and further away. But the story didn't end there. In the carbonized ruins of Herculaneum, what was once a symbol of destruction has become a symbol of hope. The ghostly letters emerging from those blackened scrolls are more than just ancient words. They're a declaration that what was lost can be found. They prove that the embers of our forgotten history can be fanned back into a flame. The digital unwrapping of these scrolls is a turning point, a new kind of renaissance where technology is letting us reach back in time and take back our stolen legacy. These scrolls are just one library out of countless that disappeared. What other secrets are still buried out there, waiting for a key? What forgotten wisdom is ready to be reawakened? The quest to read our own past has only just begun.